All right, so there's 128 players in this bracket, and it's notable that the lowest ranked player has an ELO of 2040. That would be Tom S here, who has the wonderful opportunity to play Hera in the first round. That's crazy that we have 128 players in this event that are over 2K. That's actually kind of rare for events. It's kind of rare for qualifiers, too, sometimes. So I think the money potential, the map potential, the upset potential of being different has a lot of people excited here. We really had not missed many signups that I would have been hoping for. So since there's so many sets, I think I'm going to go through and pick like my 4 favorites from each little group. So you got 1 through 8 here to start it all off. Hera's an obvious one. Really interested to see how Hera plays in these settings. I wouldn't say Nomad settings are his specialty. You do have some maps which might fall in line with how he likes to play, but I think it's going to test his skill set. We'll see how the preparation is, how the early rounds go for him. You'd expect him to go deep in the tournament, though, of course, and be the favorite to win the whole thing. After him, Nikov, they are not going to run into each other, Nikov and Hera, in the second round, right? They would potentially have to go 4 rounds down, so pretty far down here because of the format. I think Nikov's really solid on Nomad. I think he's in really good shape right now, so I think he's the other clear favorite from the group. But if I had to pick players after those two in this group, right, I would say that it's kind of tricky, actually. I think Sizcon's in amazing shape right now, so maybe Sizcon. But I actually have my eyes on Teemo and Cloud. I think that's going to be, well, numbers-wise, it's one of the closest matchups in the first round. Teemo and Cloud, 2 very different players. Teemo likes the chaos. Cloud is good on Nomad, man. Plays a lot of Nomad, so that should be really good. I think the other one to mention there would then be Margugu, 17th seed. I think Margugu, potentially going to give Nikov a run for his money to make a deep run. Really motivated, fun player to watch. So that's kind of that starting group. As we move down, we got 9th through 16th now. And we've got Doubts as 8th seed. He's not up against Bad Koala. Bad Koala is actually further down in this group, funnily enough. Doubt, I think, is going to be amazing in this tournament. The first Wandering Warriors Cup, many people forget now. Doubt got 2nd place. He looked really good. He beat big players, if I recall correctly. He beat some of the players everyone thought was in the top 5 at that time. So I think Doubt, this is good opportunity for him to snowball some good fortune and confidence. He's going to be in good spot here. Miguel's pretty close to him, though. Miguel's 57th seed. 3 years ago, you wouldn't have thought of that. So that's going to be scary. And I actually think this whole freaking 9th through 16th is loaded. You got Leary down here. You got Kingston. Bad Koala, super good on Nomad. That's where I kind of start to get excited now, because you look at Bad Koala, you maybe look at someone like Running. They're arguably better on these types of settings than they might be in standard settings in a standard tournament. Baba Rum had a crazy run in Hidden Cup qualifiers. What type of shape will he show? I mean, yeah, this is a stacked group here. The big ones, though, I kind of ruined my own format here. Obviously, Doubt and Leary. I think Doubt and Leary should be expected to meet each other at some point down the line. But if there's a tournament for anyone to get knocked out early, this is it. So, exciting times. Okay, moving down, we then got, am I doing this correctly? I think I am. 17th through 24th. Yeah, it looks about right. Sebastian, the big one. Sebastian, and then seed-wise, it's actually Freakin' Andy. So, Sebastian, 4th seed, Freakin' Andy, 13th seed. I really like both their chances. Sebastian's the same story as some of these others, right? It's like, how are they going to perform if the if the maps aren't the same as some of the other ones? How adaptable is he going to be? I think Freakin' Andy's going to be insane, so that's why these two are my top 2. Sebastian in amazing shape of his life, top 4 player in the world right now based on rankings. Freakin' Andy, though, loves these types of settings, could make a deep run. Other ones to shout out here would be Dogao. Dogao's usually pretty solid as well, loves his Nomad. And then the next one for me would be Draken, which I know that Draken 61st seed, but Draken is really good in non-standard maps. He's really good with strategy preparation. He tends to overperform in tournaments overall. So I actually think Draken, but Mullisako's a Finn. This is a crazy round. Mullisako loves his Nomad. He's a Finn who does some crazy stuff. Those two, you got to see that one. And then Lucho's this 18, 19-year-old from Argentina who's had great shape. But even him, I'm not really sure on these maps how he's going to perform. So Man, I'm skipping over so many good players. Like Whitecourt McLuffy is an insane matchup. You got to keep in mind, if we're talking like 70th seed, we're talking like 2K3, right? So, 2K3 against 2K5, I think, with these two. Super good sets. I'm getting excited already, but we got to keep it moving. So, then we go down to the next little group, per se. We've got Yo. Everyone calls it Yo Mad, not Nomad. Yo, one of the favorites in this tournament. He lost in the semifinals of Wandering Warriors Cup 1. Excited to see what he could do. The other player, which is I'd say obvious standout, would be Tatto in the group. Sato's in great shape. His 1v1 performance is fantastic. Again, maybe some question on how he'll play on Nomad maps, but I think it's going to be so good. But man, some of these matchups are just so sick, guys. Like, Husiel and Lobo is very, very close. Husiel and Lobo, you got Chile versus Mexico there. Both those guys similar in rank. Both gonna like just duke it out right from the start round 1. Stark and Eli. Eli's an American player who I think is very low elo right now, so that's why his seed is 101. But he loves Nomad. Like, he favorites Nomad. He plays primarily Nomad. USA team brought him in primarily for Nomad. Like, he's a Nomad guy. And then Stark is super experienced and isn't necessarily a Nomad guy, but is probably the better player. I'm pumped for that. I'm pumped to see Slam versus like Kev OP, who is Bloodless, another American player. That is like Bloodless could be really solid on Nomad, likes his arena style, likes his castle drops, likes his monks, which Nomad can offer. So Slam maybe could get a little shaky in the first round. Also, Matza is I made a video on him before called Black Forest. He's since usually just using Matza as his name now. He loves like YOLO stuff, Vil rushing, TC dropping. He TC drops on Nomad. I haven't made enough videos on it. So even him against the Toe could at least produce some really good games. Are you excited yet? I'm excited. Okay, we moved down. We got Emu Warrior. Emu Warrior up against the Viper. Now, that's fun for me. Emu's an American player who is in community games a lot. Played well in Regicide Rumble. And typically has a lot of YOLO strategies. Him against Viper is going to be great. Viper doesn't know the guy. Obviously, Viper, though, one of the big favorites. So you'd expect Viper to go deep in this tournament and through the bracket. When you look down the line here, MBL stands out. MBL. So if MBL and Viper win through, which I'm not even sure will happen, but if they win through to, getting to round 4, that could be a fun matchup, Viper and MBL. But, I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself here, but you do have Veleza, 18th seed, and Veleza is going to be waiting a couple rounds down if he gets through. He and MBL could be an early matchup there. That's going to be a potential big one. You do have other players who I think could do big things. Lewis is really improving right now with his game. He's more of a standard Arabia style player like so many I've mentioned, so I'm curious to see how he'll perform. He might not know too much about Wade, by the way. Wade is kind of this really solid Nomad guy. But yeah, I'm excited to see it. I mean, there's so many games here. Z40 is also really good. Like, all the Taiwanese players are really, really solid. Uzi from Mexico is so good. Oh, man. The games are going to be so good. It's a shame we can't cast every single game. Okay, moving down. We got ACCM. ACCM 7th seed. And someone he could... there's a couple people he could potentially run into early. Ganji is one. And then Licks as well. Like, both those two can bring some crazy things in tournaments on their day. Then you have Barles. And Barles is favored against God's Prisoner, I think, by a long shot. But then, I buy Power and Nazar. We have a player from China and then Hong Kong. Both really solid. Pretty good on Nomad. Typically, the Asian community is. And then you have Vivi down here, too. I mean, we could see like a Barles Vivi down here in the 3rd round. Could be a really good matchup. I'm excited to see Vivi and Barles on Nomad, man. So that could be like a Barles Vivi matchup running into, and then on the up above it, we have like the ACCM Licks. Winners face each other. Oh, great sets. Great sets all coming here. But we got to move on because I'm trying to keep this short and sweet. And I'm already approaching 10 minutes because I suck. Tatto, 3rd seed. Expect big things from Tatto this tournament. I think he'll do very well in these settings. He's one of the more creative players in the scene, very adaptable to all settings. So I consider him the big favorite here at the top. As you look further down, you got Mihai. Young gun from Romania, has been really solid over the last year or two, more consistently getting into the top events or coming very close. I'm unsure on how the settings are going to be for him. For Fox, it's kind of interesting because you could have Mihai and Dark run into each other relatively early. Those two are actually the favorites to run into each other in the third round, and they might be training as teammates together. So that's a little unfortunate. I consider those players, like maybe, I think Mihai's just a step up from Dark, but Dark typically is a step up with strategy. So that's fun. Shout out as well to Dragonstar. I think Dragonstar will do big things here. His strategy is typically pretty good. Never goes like super deep in tourneys. So I don't think he quite has the speed to keep up. But wouldn't surprise me to see like a Tatto Dragonstar, then like a Mihai Dark here in this group. Okay, and then we get to the last little group of the bracket. We have Vinchester as the big favorite in the top portion. Vinchester, similar to Tatto, I think. Very adaptable player. I would expect him to be a little less prepared with like unique strats early, but he's got so much skill. Fire is the player to maybe give him some type of disruptions early, but I just haven't seen enough from Fire to think that he's going to be able to beat Vinchester in a best of 5. And then the lower portion of this group, you got Heart and Capoch. Heart, Capoch, even like Say My Name, even like You Pudding, like a lot of players to be excited about. Heart and Capoch might be even on Nomad maps. I would say Heart is like, as the seed suggests, about 10 or 11 players ahead of Capoch. I think in normal settings, best of 5, best of 7, Heart beats him 3-1, 4-1, something like that. But this isn't Arabia. You know, these aren't the settings that Heart's playing every day. And Capoch has a lot of, to his gameplay, a lot of extremes to his gameplay that I think suits Nomad. So it's not going to be a walk of the park for Heart. It's not going to be in the walk of the park for anyone. You do have Say My Name, who's such an experienced pro who shows up and typically does well on Nomad. You've got Gookie, who's a new Fox edition, who's 16 years old. She, who do some crazy things. You've got You Pudding as well, who always has great strategy. So a lot on that bracket, a lot to break down. And then if you zoom out, obviously this I couldn't do it this way because it'd be horrible to see. There's eventually just going to be one winner in there. One winner, guys. One winner. Who do you think is going to be? I think it's really hard to say. It's way harder to say than most events, honestly, because the settings will prioritize different aspects of gameplay. I think it is also, you know, the short and sweet aspect of it, the fact that you can't sit around and see what other people's strategies are happening. The fact that it's a condensed format means we could have people surprised in, like, say, the first or second round if they're a big name. Think about it this way, right? How many times do you see big names look shaky in the first week or two, but then they get through that, and then they know the meta, they catch up to speed? Happens all the time. That's normal. There's good enough players here where that could potentially be a problem, right? You're not going to have, even in the first round, someone like Harry's facing the weakest player. That guy's 2040. Now, there's a big gap between someone like Hera, but still. The point is, I think there will be upsets. Now, what are the upsets going to be? I don't know. But I hope the tournament is amazing. So that's it for me, guys. Thank you for watching. Hope you're excited. The coverage of the event is going to be as nonstop as possible when the sets are happening for the first 2 weeks. Things are going to be a little bit more established in terms of coverage from the round of 32 onwards. Because as you can imagine, there's 64 best of 5s. There's 64 sets in the first round, which is like 1 weekish. So, or it's actually kind of like a condensed week. So anyways, keep an eye on Twitch. I'll be streaming all the time. Dave will be streaming all the time. I'm sure there will be other people too, just covering sets. My extras channel, which this is on, is just going to be smashed with sets. There's going to be sets all the time. The best individual games will go to YouTube as always. And then eventually we'll work ourselves down to the playoff week, like the quarters and beyond, which of course we'll catch everything we can. Sorry, we'll catch every single game. We won't miss things because there won't be as many sets to cover, and it'll be a bigger stage. That is it. Please support the tournament. Please give Dave and I your best of luck and wishes, and I promise You'll have fun with this one, guys. Thank you. See ya.